And we're live. Hello and welcome, everyone. It's time for another exciting episode of IT Career in Australia live stream. And today's discussion is about essential skills for boosting your employability in the shifting IT market. So today we're going to talk about, is just having technical skills and qualification enough in this competitive market today? How do you make yourself more attractive to employers? So you need to understand how like certain communication skills and then some insights can raise your profile and actually boost your value to potential employers. So in this discussion, we will look at new skills IT employers are looking for in today's market, and some steps that you can take right now to develop them to succeed in today's market. So thank you thank you so much for finding some time for joining me. Oh my God, I feel like I'm just mumbling today. Thank you guys for joining me this evening. So please don't forget to introduce yourselves in the comments, or at least say hi. Yes, please say hi in the comments so we know that you're here and you're watching, and we're not just talking with the crickets today. So I'm Jana Martins, if you forgot by any chance, and I'm passionate about learning more about the present and future of tech industry, and always eager to share my latest findings with you in this YouTube channel. So again, essential skills for boosting your employability in the shifting tech market. That's our today's topic. And before I pass it over to Matthew to introduce himself, just want to quickly remind you, as usual, that we're streaming on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. If you miss a stream, you can always watch a replay on my YouTube channel, IT Career in Australia. Please subscribe. I will really appreciate if you subscribe. And in this case, you can see me going live every Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. Melbourne time, with various experts from my network, talking about all things IT career, job search, and in and out of tech industry, specifically in Australia. And also join my meetup group if you want to join some of our face-to-face events and use this group your opportunity to network with people in the industry. So we have quite a few people joining us. That's great. James is here, Anna's here, Josephine here, Hill is here, Prim is here, Raj Kumar is here. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your names incorrectly. Oisha's here, Gizem is here. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. Plenty of people here. Burning topic, I guess. And great to see you here in this like beautiful warm day in Melbourne. I'm not gonna lie, I went surfing today in the morning. It was beautiful. It was nice and hot. So, but I'm here with you tonight, and I'm passing on to Matthew to introduce himself, please.
Thanks, Jana. Well, hello, everyone. Matthew Doig is my name. I'm the Managing Director of Growth Cave, and Growth Cave really specialises in assisting people and organisations in making transformations in the digital age. But I guess one of the really interesting things too is the whole question of employment, recruitment, and getting jobs in that kind of sector. And obviously, IT is a huge part of that employment market. So one of the things that we've been doing is looking at, sort of boosting people's capability in that area, and sort of looking at what are the kinds of things that actually matter now in terms of employers out there, and understanding what are the sort of the things that have been happening, what's important to employers now in terms of wanting people to come and work for them in the IT sector, and perhaps a few sort of surprising things that we've found too about what really matters out there, which may, be of interest to your listeners this evening, Jana.
Yes, definitely. So guys, we're going to touch on a little bit about technical skills, just like kind of like a little bit what's going on in the market. But the focus of today's discussion is those power skills that you can use every time, everywhere. Yep. So just skills that sometimes we know we need those skills, but for some reason we just don't work on them, and just thinking about what different certification I need to take, and I don't know what's next course I need to take, or what's next language I need to learn. So yeah, definitely not about that today. But Matthew, just kind of like, to before we dive into those skills. So what's, I guess, what specific technical skills do you believe most valuable in IT industry today? What do we see like in the market?
I think that and look, I'm using a bit of sort of data and insight from last year as well, but I think that the thing that stands out is that good programming skills are really still very critical. Employers are still looking for good programmers who can actually work in unique situations. So there's so many companies there that deal with clients who have very specific needs, and they need programmers who can sort of adapt to that and work in that kind of environment. So that's one of the things that's very strong. Look, it's still a lot of demand in areas relating to security, not surprisingly, and that's been turbocharged by all the nice little disasters last year in terms of leaking information and so forth, which I'm sure we've all heard about. And it's really raised the profile of data security skills as well. So that's certainly something that people are very interested in. Even if a job that's advertised doesn't specifically talk about that, it's something very useful for people to have. Look, understanding business and finance, and I noticed you've got that FinSec Ops up there. I'm so glad you reminded me of that, Jana, because that's yet another, what is an acronym or a term or mnemonic or something? So essentially,
FinSec Ops.
Exactly. In normal language, what that's actually saying is having an appreciation of the sort of financial operational side of a workplace, of a business, potentially of a client. And again, that's something that I think from a technical point of view is really, really important to have. And look, some other things, I mean, stuff relating to data analysis and data analytics. This is something that's coming up a lot because everywhere now we're seeing people moving into that field, and it's not unusual with a lot of employers now to actually have data analytic people there already embedded. And that means if you can go in there with some skill and appreciation of that, that's going to look a lot better for you as well. I mean, there's other things too, like obviously quality assurance and compliance are important. Particularly with what we can and can't do. And I think there's an expectation today that we're not just running down to the compliance section every 5 minutes to check. I think IT professionals need to actually.
Oh, Matthew, I think you're breaking down a little bit. Guys, please let me know if it's only me who have a bit of a sound problem on the Matthew side, or you can hear something as well. So, because sometimes it could be on my side. Please let me know if you can hear me clear, or and if you can hear Matthew clear.
Yeah, I can see you okay. But,
Yep, I think we're back now. Everyone's fine. Okay, no worries. So maybe it was on my side.
Yep. So I guess those and like the compliance thing. So I guess and the other big one too, Jana, that I think is really important, still people looking for, is project management. At the very least, an appreciation of project management. Not saying you have to be a project manager, because that's a discipline in itself. But so much IT-based work today, particularly when you're talking about cloud applications and cybersecurity, and that is project-driven. So I think it's really important that people have that appreciation too. All right, all good. Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can see you, and everyone's saying it's clear, and I can hear you both. Thank you, guys. I don't know maybe it's my headphones. I might just take my headphones off.
Nice.
Matthew, you continue the conversation about the technical skills.
Yeah, so I think from the point of view of what people are wanting, what employers are wanting, I guess that's sort of where I see it on a technical level. And you probably noticed from that just what I've said there, they're not just looking for someone who can do one thing, really. They're looking, you are going to make yourself more attractive, more marketable if you can talk to these things in an interview, for example, or if you can relate back to how these things are important, and not just sit in there and say, I'm really good at crunching code, which unfortunately some people think is what you do to get the job. It's not. It's just a part of it. But that's one of the points I'd really make right from the word go.
Yeah, definitely. And there's obviously a lot going on in the market, and I don't want to go too deep today into layoffs and what's happening, in the market and how many jobs in the market. So we definitely, as Matthew mentioned, software engineering is still in demand. Yeah, if you go to like any Australian website and Google statistics, and also like go to immigration website, we're still sponsoring software engineers. It's still in demand. So we definitely know there's still a good amount of jobs out there, despite of all the layoffs and things like that. And I'm going to run actually separate live stream specifically on that topic, talking about what those global layoffs actually mean for the industry. So let's not, I guess, go too deep into this topic, but we definitely know that based on what's kind of happening in the industry, those sort of general skills, and Matthew mentioned, is getting more and more in demand. So it's less about being really niche and just working on those things. It's about like how you can actually understand the bigger picture and collaborate with our people and so on. So with a few people asking questions, Nimisha is asking, what's the difference you feel between product management and project management? So again, really specific question. And Nimisha, I actually have a live stream in a few weeks talking for a whole hour about product management. So what actually product management does and how to become one. So I think it's like 17th of March. So I'll announce it in a second. So we're going to cover that in the thing. So Matthew, I guess, what are those non-technical skills we keep talking about? Yes, yes, with a few in demand particular position that may be a little bit more in demand, but what actually we need to work on to boosting our employability in general?
Yeah, look, this is a really interesting question, and funnily enough, it wouldn't be that different. The answer wouldn't be that different if you weren't talking about IT, if you were talking about law, or you were talking about engineering or something like that. I mean, I like to call them the power skills, and the reason I call them the power skills, they're not secret, superpowers or anything like that, but it's actually the sorts of things that I think give you greater leverage, both in terms of employability and also durability in roles and promotability in roles. And the things that I come back to, and there's a few here. I think you might have them down, mightn't you, Jana? I'll bring those up. Yeah, critical thinking. The interesting thing here is that when you're talking about information management and you're talking about decision making, one of the really important things is that you need to be able to decide very quickly and accurately between what to do between different sorts of scenarios and situations. And this is as true in the IT industry as it is anywhere. So I guess that's one of the, from a critical thinking point of view, how do I decide, looking at data, I'm getting masses of data here. How do I discern what I actually need here and what I don't need? And your success in a role is very, very dependent on that. And that's not about technical knowledge or programming or anything like that. That's your capacity to make those kind of decisions based on looking at the information that you've been provided and filtering through. And that's particularly true these days with the masses of information that we've been given. And that's something that you could anticipate. And but even before I talk about, information via social media and things like that, I'm just talking about work-related information. So I guess that's one of the first things that I would say from a power skill point of view. Yep.
And, it feels like sometimes we hear about it a lot, like critical thinking, problem solving, but how you increase your critical thinking? Yes. So how do you work on it? Like when someone been asked to work on your Java skills, it's clear, like, you go and code more in Java, or you go take the Java course or something like this. But when someone talk about things like critical thinking, it seems so broad, like how you can work on it and how you can actually show to, potential employees that you have that critical thinking.
I think that what you've got to do is, I think it's not about saying I've been on a critical thinking course or something like that. I don't know if they've got critical thinking. I suppose they do. But no, for me, it's more about being able to demonstrate a situation where you've actually had to deal with a lot of different options, and this might be in the form of information. And I guess that the key here is to be able to take a very sort of objective view of the data that you've been provided, and actually using that data then to decide which of those is actually going to be the thing that I need to use. And from an employee's point of view, a potential employee's point of view, the best thing I can suggest is think of situations where you've had to do that. I mean, if they're verifiable, even better, but I would be looking particularly along the lines of that process of discerning between the data that you're receiving and using research and using a bit of skepticism to actually determine which you think you should be paying attention to and which you shouldn't, and helping that form the decision that you're going to make. That's what I would sort of be suggesting to people. Yeah.
So I'm just also thinking, does it kind of mean that we need to be less emotional when making those decisions?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong per se with emotions coming into decision making, but I think in particularly when you perhaps see something that you would like to believe is right or correct, because it can, with this old bias confirmation thing, that is part of critical thinking, because we've got to actually say to ourselves, and sometimes it's hard, it's hard to actually acknowledge that even though I would really like this to be the case, what I've seen here and applying the objective lens means that no, I can't. I have to make the decision this way. How you make that decision, that's where the emotion comes in a bit too, and how you transmit that decision and how you discuss that and collaborate. That's certainly where the emotional side is very, very useful. It comes in like that.
Yeah. I guess in a way it's also maybe like questioning things.
Oh, absolutely. And I think this is, don't take things for granted. And I think the other thing that's really useful to show to an employer is your capacity to be more objective and thinking critically like that. I mean, to show them that you don't just take things at face value, that you do actually check out stuff, because we live in an age where we are overwhelmed with data, basically, both at work and in our private lives. And someone that, if I was an employer, someone who could come to me and demonstrate that they actually really understand this concept and take it seriously and try to apply it is very important, because I don't want people just to sort of automatically assume that must be right. Like look at I was on Twitter today and yet another celebrity, and I don't even know who this person was, Yana, I'm probably showing my age here, but there's another picture of another celebrity who's apparently in trouble for revealing it. They were revealing video without going into too much detail. But the funny thing is, they're not even saying it's real. Like it's an AI generated thing. Now that's an extreme version, but what I'm saying is that all of the data sets that we're dealing with, we need to actually apply this principle to it. That's what we've got to be really careful about. Yeah.
Definitely. Anna has a question, and Anna, it's the most common question I think I get asked on this channel and in general. And then someone recently moving to Australia and work as a delivery manager, Scrum Master, project manager. And is the fact that I don't have experience in Australia slowing me down? Matthew, do you want to answer before?
I don't think so, Anna. Look, I don't necessarily think that's the case at all. I mean, for me, it's more about what you could use from those jobs that you've talked about. So I think, for example, a delivery manager there would be a lot of instances where if we're just talking about one skill, if we're talking about critical thinking, you would be able to produce a lot of examples of where you've had to apply that in terms of your team and your work and, the underlying situation that you're dealing with. And look, make no mistake, those things are useful everywhere. And that's really critical, I think, from that point of view. Yeah.
And we all know finding your first job when you move to our country, it always will be harder because you don't have that support network as well. Because obviously it's not like when the people show your resume, you show your resume, and there are companies that they no idea what their companies are.
Yep. Yeah.
That's just that simple perception. Yeah. If you've been working here and you've been working, I don't know, with NZ Bank and Telstra and so on, and everyone who look at your resume, they know these companies, and they probably know people who work in these companies. They can call the mates and ask, "Oh, do you know this Anna? She worked for you a few years ago." So it's a small market, and yes, of course, it's always harder to find your first job. But I think what Matthew talking about, that essential skills, that's exactly what everyone needs to show to raise the chances to get hired. But yes, I think there are obviously some obstacles when you don't have a local experience. We're small market, we're little country, everyone knows everyone. Yes, it takes some time to get to know people and kind of explain them, how your experience is relevant. It definitely will be part of this, but I don't think that's exactly that's something that needs to slow you down or hold you back.
No. And what I would do too, Anna, is that I would actually go back and I would look at that, where you're saying in the delivery management role, I would be sitting down and I would be pulling out those things specifically that you think for any job you applied for that could specifically apply in there, like how that could relate directly to something in there. I think there'd be a lot of things that you could do, whether it was in an IT role or whether it was in something else. I think that you should be able to demonstrate. Like, I don't think people care whether you're overseas or not, to be honest. I mean, I sort of sometimes think that a broader perspective can be an advantage too. So I would be framing it in the point of view, the advantage of operating in different environments as being a plus that you could market. It's just another thought.
Yeah. So let's go to next skill, Matthew. So adaptability.
Yeah. Look, I mean, this is obviously we're in turbulent times. There's a lot of uncertainty in markets, and I think organisations. I mean, this is the thing with digital transformation, is that we're constantly expecting people to change and do new things. So when I say adaptability, what I mean is that you need to be able to demonstrate that either that you have worked with change quite sort of openly and enthusiastically, or that you have the capacity to do that. You can actually go and you can deal with those changes. Are you adaptable to new roles? I mean, what about if you're in a workplace and let's say you are programming, but someone says, oh, look, I need you to do this as well. I know this isn't really your area, but we need someone for the next 3 months. Are you happy to do that? Are you capable of doing that? Are you prepared to give it a go rather than just say, some people say, oh, I can't do that, I'm a programmer. That's not the sort of attitude that employers want to see. I mean, seriously, like my background was in military logistics originally, and I ended up doing all sorts of different things that I didn't expect to do. And I just used to say, they'd say, you can do that, can't you, Matthew? And I go, yeah, like that. So that's how I learned to do it. So you need to be able to show people that you've either done it or you're happy to do it because of the nature of who you are and so forth. Yeah.
And I guess you can also really mention it on the interviews as well. Then someone asks you some example from your previous projects or jobs, so you can talk about how you adapted to particular situation or start using a different system or anything like that. So it's I guess really easy to incorporate into your answers.
Yeah, and I think the other point I'd make too is particularly for people who've moved to Melbourne or who've come from overseas or are in transition or transition between different industries. I think you need to emphasise that too. That I've been able to use those skills to adapt. And I can apply the same attitude and the same insights to an adaptation, that's needed in the workplace. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Next one.
Creativity. Yeah, look, I just wanted to make the point here that, we hear a lot, and I know I'm not going to get into a thing about AI, Jana. I promise you I'm not going to talk about it a lot, about the AI taking over. I don't actually believe that. Like, I think that AI works well in some circumstances, but where AI doesn't work well is where you're dealing with unique situations where just going on to ChatGPT or whatever is not going to work, because when you do that, you're dealing with existing data sets. You're dealing with problems that have already been solved. And the chances are, in a unique situation, in a new role, that may not help you. And when I talk about creativity here, I'm talking beyond being a great coder or programmer or whatever, and that's certainly very important. But beyond that is an ability to actually look at things differently, look at generate new ideas, solve problems for people in that sense. And look, people will say, oh, well, you can't just make yourself creative. I actually don't agree with that. I actually believe creativity is 90% attitude. I think if you actually sit down and say to yourself, what's another way that we could do this? I think you'd be surprised. And particularly if you're a good collaborator, if you're a good communicator and you're talking to other people. And again, if you're going out into the job market, think about where you've been creative. Think of where it's worked in the past. It doesn't matter if it's not about IT. It might be something completely different, which you've actually been able to come up with an idea or a solution or solve someone's problem. And as I said, that's the thing that counts. And then you leverage off your technical skills to be able to do that. That's the thing that's perhaps more key than anything else.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people, when they think about creativity, they're thinking about something completely like, I don't know, photography or writing songs, but it doesn't need to be this. Sometimes you can be really creative when you do some presentation for, I don't know, next product release. You just structure it different way, and here's your creativity right here. So you can actually apply creativity in the different things. And I don't know, but I kind of feel sometimes that we don't use creativity as much simply because we're rushing so much, and we also like on the go and get disturbed with so many signals everywhere, messages and emails. But when we actually dedicate some time, sit down with any distraction and focus and go in that flow state, as you said, like anyone can be creative. You can start generating ideas. You can start brainstorming. We just act like we're always busy, and that's why we're not applying those skills enough. That's what I just think.
And I think sometimes the baseline, we often think it's not just about even necessarily being able to, code differently or something like that. Like it's often just the response to the problem in the first instance. And then, you think of a new idea, and then you use your technical skills. That's where you start thinking, all right, how could I make this work on a system or in a user interface or whatever? That's where I think the creativity is really important. That's something that's one of your biggest strengths. When you talk about AI, it's still something that's one of your biggest strengths as just a person in that role. But it's still something that's very, very difficult to replace.
There's a few comments coming in. James is saying being creative is 75% of problem solving, and structure is the other 25% of problem solving.
Absolutely.
And actually, Mac had the question about our previous point. How do you demonstrate adaptability through your resume?
You need to talk about a situation. You need to indicate situations where you've actually had to adapt to a change of some kind. So you need to work that in. Now, it may be work related. If it's not, put it in the section about hobbies and interests and talk about it in there. That's what I would suggest. But you need to be able to show in some way that this is the thing. And I would always have those kind of points right at the start of your resume. I'm a big believer in having your first page with your achievements of what you've done, and then the rest of it later. That's my personal view. But I know this isn't resume writing, so I'll be quiet about that.
Yeah, you can put it also, I think, simply even in the responsibility. Even your responsibilities has changed, so you can also mention in the responsibility section of your resume that you had to change from this to this, or your position slightly change. Because I think in this market, it's really rare that someone been hired for for this position description, and year later you have the same position descriptions. Usually not. Usually your responsibility change keeps, and you can mention it in the resume as well. Josephine actually has a question as well. It's a really big question, Josephine.
Wow.
How do you stand out in the competitive market?
Oh, well, yeah. Look, you've got to look. It's a very good question, and if I had the answer to that, I'd probably be worth more than Seek. I guess the most important thing is that you're right to talk about standing out, and I think a lot of that is you've sometimes look. I'm going to go a little bit off track here. To me, the best way to get jobs is not through resumes and interviews. Okay. You need to go in the back door, and what that means is, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, Jana, but you need to be part of the conversation with people who are in the position to give you work, and that means getting involved on platforms like LinkedIn, serious social media platform like LinkedIn, where you can perhaps comment on things, create content of your own, even attend functions, get invited to functions because you know people. And then you need to get in there and look, I've been to industry functions where I thought this would be a great place for people looking for work to go. And there's been maybe 2 or 3 people there in that category. All the rest of them were oldies in business and that sort of thing. You've got to be, to stand out, you've got to move away from the crowd, basically, because the crowd are all putting in resumes and trying to get interviews. And in my experience, that's not the way to do it. You've got to get jobs. You can bypass that process. They can give you a job. Now, depending on where it is, that you could potentially get work just by meeting someone at a conference. Okay, so that's the best advice that I can give you. You've got to move away from what the crowd's doing, because I can assure you the crowd is just doing the same thing over and over again and beating their head against the wall.
And apply creativity. Here we go.
Absolutely, yeah.
You can apply creativity.
Yeah, but be creative. That's exactly what I mean. And look, everyone says, well, that's old hat, but so few people actually do it. Like I remember a few years ago, I arranged for someone that I knew, I do mentoring through Monash University, and I arranged for someone to come to a conference that I was going at, and got it there, just said, look, come along. It was free. It was a free lunch type presentation. And then I just put it there and then I said, off you go. I unleashed her and told her who are the different people you should go and talk to. And they were really, really interested and impressed, because that's how they like to meet potential recruits. No one wants to sit there looking through resumes.
No one likes that process. No. And plus, I always talk about the job search paradox, where when someone advertises a job, it's like a last resource. Yeah. So when you're looking for someone, you firstly ask your network, then you look through your referrals, then you look to previous candidates, then you look through some recommendations on social media, and then if that doesn't work, then you will post a job. It's especially applicable to smaller companies. Big companies might have a really strict process, but majority of middle-sized companies, advertising the job, it's kind of last resource, and there's no one else. But when we're talking about job seekers start with applying for jobs that advertise, which is kind of the paradox itself, because it's a last resort. So we all go for this a last sort of resource option, where you need to be seen to these people before they even think about advertising that job.
And the other thing I was going to add too, Jana, is if you can go to conventions. A lot of the big, so for example, ARI and places like that, when they have their big conventions in Melbourne or wherever you are, what they often do is you can go into the exhibition, the trade thing, for nothing. So if you're worried about the cost, they obviously charge you a lot to go and see all the plenary sessions and the big talks and that. But very often you can go to the actual trade exhibition for nothing. They'll have passes to get in. And that's another place that you can go and you can meet people and you can talk and mingle and you can network and ask and be known. It's so much better if they've met you and then you follow up with an inquiry. It just totally puts you ahead of the pack. And yet I'm still amazed how few people actually do it. This is the thing that really surprises me. So if you do it, you're actually ahead of the pack to start with. Yeah.
Here's a great comment. Oisha saying, meeting recruiters in person make me panic a bit. What's a non-awkward way to approach recruiters?
I've got to be careful what I say here about recruiters, don't I? I'm not even talking about, I suppose, Oisha, I'm not necessarily talking about these things. I'm suggesting is you're actually talking to people from the company. Now, whether they then bounce you back to a recruiter that they're dealing with, maybe, but at least you've already introduce yourself and they know you. Look, there isn't really what's a non-awkward way to approach recruiters. I guess the first thing I would say is they're just people. And most, actually, funnily enough, you can be professional and you can also be affable and friendly and positive. And I think in my experience, most of the time it's a hell of a lot easier to talk to people who are a little bit more. When I would use the word casual, I don't mean that you're not interested in the job. I'm just saying that you don't come across as being overeager and all that sort of stuff. You're just there to talk to them and find out things and that. And that's always been my advice to people. I know it can be a little bit nerve-wracking. Talk to a lot of them, get practice. Go around.
Stop thinking about it as an awkward thing. And also there is a lot of events, like recruiters tend to run events in their offices. Like, for example, even yesterday, and Preeti's here. Hi, Preeti. Thank you for saying hi. So, for example, yesterday I went to the Agile Project Managers event, but it was in the Robert Walters office because they, provided the space. So a lot of big recruiters actually run a lot of events because they want to attract people to come to their office as well. So like if you want a bit less awkward way to not meeting one-on-one with a recruiter, you can go to the event where recruiters will be anyway because they're running that event and office. But to be honest, Oisha, like if you meet with the recruiter face-to-face, that means that they actually will at least remember you, because I did some agency recruitment for some time. And when I was in the agency, it's like, there's no way. And the people get upset about recruiters that recruiters don't remember them. But it's impossible to remember everyone you speak with, because you speak with like enormous amount of people every day. Like, if you do 15 calls and speak with 15 people, you're not going to remember these people. Like, it's just physically impossible. But if you actually meet with recruiter for coffee, there is way higher chance that recruiter, you will stay on the top of the mind. So as simple, I guess, as it is. And understanding also meetups. Yes, meetups, definitely heaps of meetups. And guys, if you forgot, I run a face-to-face meetup as well in Albert Park. So next Saturday, we're doing another walk around Albert Park. So it's a non-awkward way to meet a few tech people and go for a nice walk as well. Okay, time is flying, Matthew. Let's go back to the few more points, few more essential skills we've been talking about. Collaboration skills.
Yeah, look, I guess collaboration, and again, how well can you work with others? But beyond that also, and this is a bit of an overlap to technical stuff, but how well are you able to collaborate using the tools, the different technical tools that you've got? But beyond that, how do you come across using those different technical skills? So, for example, even what we're doing now, with a live stream, what kind of capacity do you have to be able to collaborate within an organization with people in this way, to collaborate with clients, to work on things together? And I think that's that's something that 100% is being sought. The companies that I've seen really want people that can turn their hand to this if they have to. The days of just being able to sit there and code. Look, there's always going to be people that do that, except, but employers want people that can go beyond that. They want them to be able to, be able to talk to other areas of the organization. They want them to be able to step in and work with and collaborate with people on a project at a certain time. So that's why I think the collaboration skills are an additional sort of power skill that I think are really, really important. And again, you need to be able to show that to people, either by the resume, or if you are at one of these functions and you're talking to people, think about your spiel. Think about what they call, the elevator pitch, the sorts of things you can talk about that beyond your technical skills actually show that you've got these collaboration skills as well.
And how do you train collaboration skills?
Look, yes, there are courses that you can go on. There are team building courses. There are, and look, a lot of these are fairly expensive because they're geared towards people in organisations. And there is a lot of self-paced stuff that you can use online. So that's one way. But I guess the other thing is a lot of it is just practicing collaborating with people too, like getting used to going out and talking. I saw a very interesting article the other day about someone was talking about presenting, talking in front of groups. And they actually said, well, how did you get good at it? And he said, well, basically, I just started off by talking at the local mothers group, like doing a talk at the local mothers group. And I'm not putting mothers groups down. I'm just saying that's where he started. And he learned over a period of time how to actually develop himself as a presenter. This guy now charges $40,000 per presentation. That's true. And he started talking at mothers groups. Yeah. So it's quite interesting, really.
Maybe I need to concentrate on, presenting and
presenting.
changing area. I'm doing it every week. Maybe I'm doing like something wrong here.
Well, I think the point to be made out of that, Jana, is really that a lot of this is you've got to throw yourself into the practice. Look, the other thing that I would say 100% is going to help you is the more things you go to, the more people you talk to, the better your collaboration skills will come too. That's the thing. And people want that today. They actually kind of want a broader, sort of capacity and capability from people. And that, it's not like that, like on Transformers where someone's just on headphones crunching code and they don't have to talk to anyone or something like that. I mean, there's always going to be a need for people like that. But the interesting thing is they're probably more in danger from AI than the people that have got all these other sorts of skills as well.
Yeah, definitely. We can see it from, what's happening in the tech industry in general. We have a few more questions quickly. I can just quickly address them actually without going too deep. James asking, here's a question. How does you tackle recruiter hosting when you met them and follow up with them about the job multiple times? Just forget about this recruiter and change.
Well, actually, I was going to say, I've got a very simple answer to that. Don't deal with that recruiter. I mean, I can tell you stories about recruiters that make your hair stand on end, but I'm not going to. It's not the forum. But no, I wouldn't be dealing with those sort of people at all.
There is a lot of recruiters there. Find the one that you click with. Sometimes it's like just simple. You just need to find your people and you need to find your recruiters. Absolutely. And it might take time to go through a lot of recruiters, but you finally maybe meet those that you connect.
And a lot of them don't understand the industries they're recruiting for too, unfortunately. Yeah, so that's another thing that you've got to deal with at certain times.
Mr. Bob is saying, can you talk a bit more about shifting to cybersecurity from non-technical career? Yes, we're going to actually on 3rd of April, I believe, before 20th of March, I will have a stream on top in-demand job in cybersecurity and how to get in cybersecurity. So 20th of March, so in a few weeks, Mr. Bob, subscribe to my channel. and I'll go live with you cybersecurity professionals from my network and we'll tackle this topic. Just cautious about the time. We have a few more skills that we want to mention today. Emotional intelligence.
Yeah, look, EI is the big one that we hear about a lot. And I guess the thing with EI is that this is something that we develop over time, but it's something we need to be aware of. And when we talk about EI, we're really talking about understanding our own emotions and our own emotional response to situations and people, and at the same time understanding other people's emotional responses. So, if Jana and I are having a discussion, I come in to Jana, I'm really cross about something, but I need to talk to her about it. And I also know that Jana's had a bad week. And on a very fundamental level, I've got to be aware of the way that I'm coming across and what my emotions mean to the way that I'm going to come across to Jana. And she also has to understand from her own perspective, that she's had a bad week and that she's going to deal with me in a certain way. And that's where the emotional intelligence in that situation comes in, with not only the awareness, but how we apply that awareness in our dealings. And from that point of view, being able to communicate effectively. That's a really, really quick description of EI. But and look, yes, there are courses you can go and do EI. There's self-paced stuff on the internet. There's lots of stuff about it. But I think at the very least, employers like to see that you have a good level of self-awareness of not just your capabilities, but also your responses to situations and that kind of thing, because it's going to make it a lot easier for people to work with you. I can remember some years ago, my niece was starting work, one of her first jobs in a jeans shop. And I said to her, the most important thing on your first day, I said, be easy to get along with. Be easy to get along with, because people like working with people that are easy to get along with. They expect them to be good at what they're doing, technically. But boy, is it so much easier to be able to deal with someone that is aware of their emotional state, and they're not going to make things difficult unnecessarily. That's one thing. You're probably going to ask, well, how do you show that on your resume? I'm just waiting for the question. Look, I guess, again, you've got to be able to draw upon things that you've done where you could demonstrate that it was necessary for you to use emotional intelligence. It could even be in a service role, dealing with clients or something like that, where you've had to, restrict, sort of control your own emotional responses and understand the other person's emotional situation. And
I think it's more you will show it, I guess, in the interview more than in the resume. So it's probably the hard one for resume. But it's definitely something that you can show in the interview, because I guess in the simple way, it's not about what is your, how you, it's more about how you answer the question, not like what information you provide to your interviewer, but in how you structure it, like what is your body language as well, what's the tone of your voice, even simple things like that can really actually show that you understand, relate to the interviewer, and try to relate to the person as a person, not just as a giving question and answers. Because I think I talk about it a lot when we talk about interviewing skills, a bit of the topic, but it's about having the conversation with the person. And I hear it again and again here, especially in Australia, with this more, in the way, relaxed culture. When you go to interview, it's not question and answers. People expect to have a conversation with you. And that conversation, that's emotional intelligence, will show in that conversation. But if you robotically trying to answer the interview's questions, there is no conversation there. And that's just a simple way to, I guess, explain how you can apply it.
Yeah, and they will gauge from your sort of interview also what they believe would sort of a person you'd be like to get on with too. And whether you are competent but also easy to talk to and affable and that kind of thing.
There's one more thing we wanted to mention. I'm really cautious about the time, but let's quickly talk about capacity to learn.
Yeah, I mean, look, basically, have you do you and this is as much an attitude as a skill, to be honest, but are you prepared to learn? And it comes back a bit to adaptability, but not only are you prepared to learn, but are you able to take on new ideas, new things? And this is incredibly important if you're going into a scenario where you actually want to be able to say, I can do a number of things. Look, they might throw other things at you in that role. You've got to be able to show people that you can actually handle that. You have a great capacity to learn. And again, leverage off what you've done. Where have you had to demonstrate? How can you just demonstrate your capacity to learn that you've already done things? You've already gone through things, because that's going to make a big difference. That's really going to show people that you can jump in and you can actually learn new things. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter so much what it is. It's just that you've got the ability to do that, because a lot of people don't learn anything. They start work and they're very specialised. And what do they learn? They learn about social media and the TV. That's it. I mean, that you've got to show that you can actually take on new things and keep learning all the time, keep growing all the time.
And Matthew, do you have some effective strategy for pursuing that sort of ongoing education? How do you structure your continuous learnings?
Yeah, look, talking from a personal point of view, most of my continuous learning is based on networking and talking to other people. I write articles for my website. I put content on LinkedIn and places like that. I comment on other people's material, and I learn a lot of stuff through the discussions that come from that. particularly about additional things I need to learn about my own industry. I have done, look, I still do some courses, like I did an emotional intelligence course last year, to get an accreditation in that. And I think sometimes, though, I think it's more important that you understand the areas that you feel you need to learn more in, and look at the different options that you've got to actually get that, because just running off and enrolling in courses isn't necessarily the right thing to do. But you can indicate to employers too your willingness to undertake that kind of learning. And you never know, they might be looking for someone to fill something else in their organisation, and you put your hand up and said, I'm happy to learn about that, I don't mind, and I'm good at learning, I'm good at taking on new things. Here's the evidence that I've done already.
Yep.
That's how I'd approach that. Yeah.
Whereas I'm just cautious about the time, but I think, guys, the main point that we're trying to communicate today is before going and start doing different certification and thinking that next shiny thing is cybersecurity, I'll go and study cybersecurity, or AI is the next shiny thing, I'm going to be a machine learning developer. With a lot of other skills you can practice and learn, and you can learn from other people as well. So actually getting yourself out there, talking to people, go to industry events, network to people, understanding what's going on in the market, because sometimes we stuck watching YouTube videos. Yeah, nothing wrong to watch YouTube videos sometimes, but sometimes if you just stuck watching YouTube videos and you actually don't go out there and don't talk with people from real organization that experience particular change and see some demand or something in the organization, you don't know, you kind of get into that bubble of social media and mainstream message. So getting out there, talking to people, I think it's a great way to learn and also boost your employability as well.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
We have like massive discussion between James and Anna about recruiters. Guys, I'm not gonna get into your conversation. I do have a few streams. I actually don't know if I can find it now, but yeah, here we go. It was a stream. Anna, if you want to go back to that. Can a tech recruiter help you to find your dream job? So I had a conversation with 3 different recruiters, and they basically talking about the job search from their perspective. Maybe, you want to have a look to that stream to kind of like understand how recruiters, see it from their side, and also maybe like if there's any difference with recruiters in Australia, and you can connect with them. Like there's 3 people I personally know, so definitely recommend to connect with them and have a chat. So we have a quick question. So we have a few minutes. Maybe I'll just take a few last questions. Is doing certification that lots of jobs showcase as an advantage, like Prince2 or PM or for project managers, going to help with getting a job? They cost quite a lot, and I'm sure that will be helpful.
Yeah, you're better to get someone to pay for it for you. Look, I guess I'm not being flippant. I'm just sort of thinking that if money is an issue, then maybe, and I'm not saying it's necessarily going to guarantee you're going to get a position. This is the other thing, because a lot of other people have done them. I sort of sometimes think you're better to try and leverage off what you've already got and look for positions where you then potentially be in a position to actually do those sorts of courses. And that might mean being a little bit more discerning with the sorts of things that you apply for, and work backwards from that place. But yeah, look, I know they do cost a lot. Yeah, look, I totally understand that, and it's really a question of is going and doing that expenditure going to produce the results? It depends. I mean, there's a lot of other people that have got them, and then you'll be competing against them too. So, are you better to compete in a niche where your particular set of skills is going to make you stand out? That's the kind of thing that I would suggest.
Yeah. And it's case by case. In some organization, they require certification, but then you need to ask yourself a question: do you want to work for an organization who asking for certification? So that's another philosophical question. So so there's a bit of a conversation about where you can find the events as well. Guys, like, yes, so there's a lot of events on Meetup. So I think Meetup is the easiest way.
Yeah.
But you can also go to the, we were talking about, the recruiters' websites. They would, advertise or follow recruiters' companies on LinkedIn. They usually post what's going on. Also, obviously, industry organizations like conferences.
I was going to suggest that associations, like they'll often, even on LinkedIn, a lot of if you follow people from the associations, they advertise functions on there, and it's worth asking sometimes whether they have say you're a student or something like that. Do you have a student rate, or just see if you can get on those things? Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Okay, so. Matthew, 5 minutes left. So guys, if we miss some of your questions, I'm always happy to take it offline. So you can always add me on LinkedIn, Diana Martins, so you can easily find me if you're not connected yet. And if you still have some questions, I'm happy to take it offline. Or obviously you can connect with Matthew. Matthew, maybe just tell us a little bit what you do at the moment as well, and what's the best ways to connect with you.
Yeah, look, I've actually got my company. I've got a website and I've got a presence on LinkedIn as well. Probably links to both of those. I don't know what the best way to do that is, Jana, is to make those links available somewhere, or
I'll post it underneath this video. And Matthew, I don't know if I probably forgot to mention to you, but we have a giveaway at the end of this live stream. And the giveaway is actually virtual coffee chat with you.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Are you happy to
Yes, I'm fine. I'm fine to do that. Yeah, no problem.
So if you're happy to do that, I'm going to do announcement for next week. And you go and look through all these millions of comments we have and choose the winner who's going to have that virtual coffee chat with you. So I basically connect you and you have a virtual coffee chat. And I just make the announcement while you're doing this. I make an announcement for next week. Next week, Wednesday. So we're going to talk about the burning topic, going back to the office in tech. Yes or no? Obviously, some companies pushing to the office, some not. So people don't want to come back to the office. Some people do. So we're going to discuss it, talk about the role of the office in the current tech industry and basically what's going on. So it will be quite an interesting discussion. Please join me next Wednesday. And week after, we're going to talk, it will be International Women's Day, 8th of March, International Women's Day, so close to 8th of March. Wednesday, 6th of March, we're going to have a conversation about women in tech leadership and what sets them apart. And is there anything different? Does the woman actually different leaders from men? Or, or is it all same? So we're going to have this conversation on the 6th of March. And after that, I know a few people did ask me, we're going to talk about product management. And then we're going to talk about top in demand jobs in cybersecurity as well. And after that, we're going to talk about layoffs and what it means for the tech industry. So there's quite a few burning topics coming up. That's why, of course, subscribe to your YouTube channel and follow me on LinkedIn and all this stuff, all the exciting stuff. And obviously, I'm looking forward to see you in Albert Park on the 2nd of March. So there's a lot of thanks coming. Thank you guys for saying thank you and staying with us. And thank you for connecting and all your questions. Matthew, who's the winner of the giveaway?
Well, the winner is Anna, and I've always wanted to talk to a Scrum Master. Yeah.
Here we go, Anna. It will be probably great for you to connect with Matthew as well. So you just arrived, obviously, from UK. So that will be, your first online connection you make. Right, here we go. So I'll make sure, Anna, please make sure to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll also make sure that you have a virtual coffee chat with Matthew. Perfect. Yay. Perfect. Thank you, guys. And thank you, everyone. I'll obviously see you next Wednesday. We also have Reboot Your Tech Mind thing on Tuesday mornings as well. So you can see me on Tuesday morning and on Wednesday afternoon as well. So there's a lot going on at the moment on my meetup group. So please join me for any of those events. And Matthew, thank you so much again. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.